let's go. Yeah.
The intros are always funny to get off the ground because I'm always like, wait, I know how to do an intro, but do I? What's going on, fellow Drops fans? My name is Haley. I'm here in the Pink Room studio at our fellow storefront in San Francisco with Helen and Brooke from Equator. Guys, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Absolutely. We're going to brew some coffee and we'll talk about the coffee for sure, but also talk about Equator. I mean, Equator's been around since '95. They're a queer-owned coffee company that really y'all were at the forefront before third wave was third wave, really.
Before the internet was the internet.
Before the internet was the internet. The year I was born, also. So
I know, it was a great year, 1995.
It was a good vintage.
You've got two women that want to start their own, coffee company, and, Brooke had traveled around the world, had an amazing palate for wine and chocolate and food, and I was just crazy to start any kind of business. And we settled on coffee because there's such history and there's such story there to talk about. Traveling to the farmer's gate and getting that dirt on your boots.
Yeah.
And breaking bread and coming back and getting that little Petrocini tabletop and watching Brooke start to put together her blends. And Brooke, talk a little bit about the name of the company, which people ask me all the time.
Well, as a lot of people are aware, coffee has grown along the equatorial belt of the world. And so coffee and tea, in fact. And I loved the idea of buying coffee from all around the equator, from between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. There was nothing more exciting for a roaster to have coffee bags representing each region, and that was very intoxicating for me. So the equatorial representation of coffee for me, it was a discovery. And I think what's great to see is the successive generations of coffee pros now are, traveling to these regions and forging relationships with producers. So
sure.
I love the fact that coffee has expanded. I mean, we talk also, and the LGBTQ plus space has expanded. Mm-hmm. I think today I have a feeling of just witnessing such an expansion of coffee knowledge and coffee relationships, mm-hmm. and the history of queer people we're in every industry, and I think there's a feeling now of being able to connect with community that maybe we didn't have the same way in 1995. Yeah. I think we were very, very buttoned up because our clients we started off as wholesale roasters, meaning we roasted for cafes and restaurants.
Long before you opened your first cafe, right?
Yeah, long before we opened our first cafe in 2013, and mm-hmm. in 1995, we were just selling to small businesses around Northern California. And a lot of our clientele back then, I think a lot of them just happened to be entrepreneurs getting into business from other industries. Like I remember earlier clients, printing business, they jumped in and started coffee carts and coffee businesses. A lot of them came from, white Christian type environments, and we felt a little bit like we never wanted to hide who we were, but we also felt like we didn't feel comfortable talking about it the way we do now. Now we just feel a sense of relief. Someone like you can talk about queer spaces, and that we can all just be proud of that.
Sure.
And I think it was a journey.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't come out for a very, very long time. And I remember being on a panel, and it was an LGBTQ plus panel, and a young man asked me, he said, well, when do you tell your customers that you're gay? And I said, well, when you're talking to chefs and restaurateurs, they really want you to deliver a product that gives them an opportunity to differentiate themselves in a very competitive environment. So leading with being gay was not naturally what you would do. Like, you wouldn't lead being straight. Oh, I'm a straight person and I'm in the coffee industry. Yeah. What you're saying is, like, I have this amazing product. I have traveled, I procure, I know how to roast, I know how to lay out the coffee bar, you can buy all your equipment from me, and I can help you be successful. So that's what you lead with. And as you become more successful, and again, when we won the LGBTQ SBA award, we were the first LGBTQ plus certified company in the history of the SBA program, when we traveled to Washington, D.C., and we were honored with 50 other states and territories. I mean, at that point, I looked around, and when they said our name, and everybody was like, they're lesbians. They're going up, they won. And it was the most amazing moment that we were so proud to be able to represent our community. And prior to that, it was just about having an amazing product and an amazing story of how we purchase coffee, and then buying our own coffee farm, right? And traveling to Panama and creating worker housing, and really being in specialty coffee, really from the shoot all the way to the cup. And being, LGBTQ founded was just secondary, but now we've stepped into that, and we want to carry the mantle. And people that come and work for us, we want to provide a safe place for them to be, because we are out, because we are women, and because we are LGBTQ. We want to show people that be yourself when you come to work, because we will protect you. We will provide for you a place to be yourself. You were a barista, I was a barista, right? You were a barista, then you're buying and roasting green coffee, and then some of our folks are, buying green coffee, and now they're the head roaster. And Brooke has mentored so many young women in our roasting plant that went on to become green coffee buyers. And so we're just so proud of what we've been able to do with being a successful company, because if you're not economically viable, you can't take care of the people that are around you.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
Each generation has its own mentors and influences. I came of age during a time where there was really Harvey Milk, and there was a lot of activism, and It was an exciting time, so it awakened me to the political possibilities of gay leaderships, not just entrepreneurs, but people in all political arenas. So.
I mean, tell the story about, you'd be at Cafe Flora, and then Harvey Milk would be sitting two tables away having coffee. It was just unbelievable.
I probably was 20 at the time, and I was sitting at Cafe Flora, which was an institution on Upper Market Street back in the day. And when I was hanging out at the cafes, I thought, someday I want to be a part of this. So I didn't know how or where or when, but it was just about the culture. It was about the ritual. Everything about it was appealing. But I remember sitting at Cafe Flora looking across the way and seeing Harvey Milk grabbing an egg breakfast at a cafe right across, and just being oh wow, there's Harvey Milk. And he would walk through the Castro, and he would be full of bustle because he was always in process. There was always big things he was doing, and we stand together now and we push back. And back then was a first, I think, real pushback. And I think it set the stage, and all from, a lot of it was discussed around cafes and coffee, and the coffee space as an incubator for from quiet to noisy revolutions.
Sure.
And you talked a little bit about, the name Equator, but if you see the Bengal tiger, we're buying a lot of coffee from Sumatra and India, right? We're buying.
Well, there was a demand back, how tastes have changed, but there was a espresso blend we were doing that got a lot of attraction in 1995, and it had some coffee from India, and it had a little bit of coffee from Sumatra, and profiles have shifted through the last couple of decades.
Oh, drastically,
you
I
know,
imagine.
and I think what
Yep.
the flavors that were attractive to customers that they seem to respond to have shifted with each generation, which is good because I think it's just really changed the landscape of especially coffee. But I think the Bengal Tiger represented the strength, grace, and power
Of being women-owned.
So we really
founded.
liked that
Sure.
imagery,
Yep.
and it's carried us through. That
I have
tiger.
seen more Bengal tiger stickers. I haven't tagged them all myself, but we were watching the French Open and Serena was playing 3 years ago, and I went to the family box and Alex, her husband, had an Equator trucker hat on with the red tiger, and I said to Brooke, there was something about that red tiger that resonated,
Yeah.
you know. And when I think about it, and I talk to young women and girls, I always talk about grace, rarity, and power, and standing in your power as women and as young girls, and protecting them. And they see the tiger, and they just want that sticker,
Yep.
right? Because they want
Yep.
to be strong. So we see ourselves as role models, not only in the LGBTQ community, but also, you know, female entrepreneurs and young girls. So what are you tasting here, Brooke?
Oh yeah, let's get it. Let's.
Because I'm going to have a second cup because it's that good.
It is. I'm glad you guys like the recipe that I
Like the
went with.
recipe, did a great
Yep.
job with the recipe, and I believe the team put together your own roast profile.
That's
Yes.
super exciting. Should we cheers?
very-
Cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
So I always ask Brooke, to the producers, yeah.
Yes.
Producers.
I always ask Brooke, what are we tasting?
Well,
what do you
what
get?
I'm tasting
What
is-
I love about this special offering is that it is an 11-year relationship that we have with the Esperanza Group, which owns the farm that produces this. It's a Yellow Bourbon. Now the farm, the Margarita farm, is a experimental. That means all different varieties of coffee and processing methods.
in Colombia too.
In
yes.
Colombia. Well, thank you.
Here I am.
And
No.
but for us, there is a primacy to relationships because if we can get in the door years ago when they started their experimentation and refining, the producers were really going for that specialty market where there was so much happening with shared information to get the best results and the best harvest. And for us, it really has helped for us to cultivate these long relationships to get a coffee like this Yellow Bourbon. Normally, we look for bright red cherry to pick to get the best results on
And
the
that's
farm.
the indicator.
The
usually,
indicator
right? Yeah.
of
Yeah.
there's a certain level of ripeness, but the Yellow Bourbon, they're yellow cherries, and like tomatoes have different colors, very much like a tomato crop. So
Oh,
these are all yellow cherries, and what we like about this coffee. It's the first time for us that we're carrying this particular lot. It is got a little bit of pomegranate, a little bit of black currant.
Definitely, that's what I was reading as well.
I pick up on the black currant. I'm very
floral?
partial to that, and the floral is more like a chamomile kind of floral. It's not, it has that kind of more earthy floral, and a tiny bit of citrus in the chamomile nose.
Sure.
But and we roasted this especially for Fellow to really create a balance, an integrated balance between all the characteristics, where there's sweetness and we're upplaying that tone, that balanced tone, as opposed to maybe the roast we do later for our cafes will be a little bit more aggressive, fruit forward. But we were really striving to give the best experience to the broadest audience possible of specialty coffee drinkers.
Totally, and I feel like roasted, especially for Fellow, I got super excited when you said
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
Really,
We're
really cool.
so excited about it.
We are so stoked about it too, and I feel like there's just so much to experiment with the way that this is roasted. Like I think across, we brewed on SAGX today, right, by 16:1 ratio. But I feel like you can really, with the way this roast is profiled, just experiment to your heart's desire with any method
Absolutely.
of brewing.
Yep.
I'm sure it extracts really, really well as espresso as well. So for all of you home espresso enthusiasts, it's just, super, super structured, definitely pulled back in the sweetness, but that like chamomile, earthy sort of sweetness is definitely something I'm reading. The black currant, right, like up front.
Yeah.
And it's just a good time.
It's special.
It's just really special.
This is a special relationship. I mean, we've traveled there many, many times. And the Cerro Azul, the Enano geisha, we have an exclusive with those guys.
I think
that'll be coming.
Like most roasters, you strive to get that special lot. That's always the dream of roasters. They have a producer, they have a relationship with a producer, and they want that special new crop or that special new processing. That's why I think the cultivation of these long-term relationships has been so valuable for us in terms of teaching us, in terms of seeing the experiments happening at the forefront of specialty coffee in Colombia, Panama, elsewhere, and the very humbling experience of having our own farm, which, the vagaries of nature rule all. And I think the producers, I think we have profound respect for those who decide to grow and process specialty coffee, because it is a labor of love. We don't see anybody getting rich off of producing specialty coffee, because it's really about winnowing a portion of their crop. I think most producers we've known through the years strive for viability and sustainability into the future.
Sure.
So it is a labor of love for a lot of producers, because when we first started growing our own coffee in Panama, every producer we know had another job. A lot of people approach them about selling their farms so they can put condos on them, and they were like, no, we've had this in the family.
It's their passion too.
Yeah, it's a passion and
a legacy, a passion.
Mm-hmm.
And what's great is that they have the support of this community here. And I think by this community, I mean the retailers and purveyors of all these support systems for getting the maximum, because there's so much effort that goes into producing specialty coffee that you want to have a supporting environment, because where it's welcomed and appreciated, because I would love to have some of the producers see you all here, what you're doing, just because they feel so respected when they see what you're doing. And I think for me, what's so gratifying is to see this generation really step up and take the mantle and bring specialty coffee further along.
Sure.
And I think that's a very good trend happening, and it will continue.
Yeah, no, and I mean, coffee's about people at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
It's never just about coffee. Well, thank you so much for being here. I mean, great talks. We're super stoked to have you in our studio. We're super stoked to drop this coffee. We're also dropping this fellow exclusive roasted by Equator, Colombia, with this mug by Tim Singleton. It's a custom 16-ounce Carter Move mug. It's called Cheers Queers. It's pretty fantastic, and you can only get it during Pride Month. You can only get it with this drop. Actually, you can get it in store and online as well. But with this drop, also $2 from every mug sale gets donated to the Trevor Project. So definitely get in on that, guys. Text me back. It's not me reading the texts, guys. I have to break it to you. I do read some of them, but not all of them. No, I read all of them because I love hearing from you guys. So as always, it's super easy to order from Fellow Drops. All you have to do is text me back, us back, the number of bags you want / the number of mugs you want. You should definitely buy one for yourself and your friends. Again, $2 from every mug donation goes to the Trevor Project. Great org, and definitely get in on this. Also, a specially roasted coffee from Equator for Fellow Drops contacts. Get in on that as well. Text us back the number of bags you want.
So we all shine, but what's your favorite?
We all shine on. I love Always Magic, Never Tragic.
Oh, and Brooke, we know yours.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. Thanks, y'all. I'll see you next week.